3, 2, 1, and welcome back to the Mastering Management Podcast. Super excited to have you guys here today. We are going to be talking about the 3 things that you should be doing when you're training people, when you're bringing people into your organization. Basically, retaining your talent that you recruit. This is super, super important podcast for you guys to listen to. I'm going to make this a simple one and a quick, easy one for you to listen to and to digest. Maybe you're listening to this on your way to work. Something to keep in mind when you start onboarding new team members, new employees. We're going to get right into it. But first, this podcast is brought to you by the Mastering Management online course. Yes, that is right. Mastering Management Podcast also has an online course where you can log in to be the leader that you are always meant to be. All right, so let's get right into it. We are going to talk about one of the most important things of retaining people. So really what I want to explain, when I sit down and talk to different companies, when I'm listening to different companies, how they're recruiting people, one of the most important things is I'm always listening, how are they retaining the current people that they have there? How are they retaining people that they currently have there? Do they make the environment good? Are they checking in with the person? And are they making sure that they're comfortable with their growth? Because those 3 things is one of the ways that you're always going to get feedback from your team members. Is the environment good? Is the culture good, right? Because that you need to have a good culture to recruit your people, to retain your people. Or is something like, are you checking in with your people, like when they come into work, like, hey, how's everything going? When they're leaving, are you saying goodbye? And then lastly, like making sure there's implementation for growth, right? Where are you at? Where you currently want to go? How can I help you get there? And really, it's the same process. You know, a lot of what we do as managers and as leaders is the same things over and over again, just on different scales. It's very important to remember because sometimes we try and recreate the wheel. And there's tons of leadership books and there's tons of and they go through all different things. And man, it's really about doing the basics, do it simplistically so it can be duplicatable. And it's also making sure you're really making sure there's a culture for growth and you're always stoking that culture for growth. So let's get right into it because we're talking about, man, when I hire somebody, when I bring somebody on board, what am I doing with them to make sure that they stay? Have you ever had an employee, you start an employee, they do day 1 of training, day 2 of training, and they just don't show up? Or they say, you know what, this isn't a good fit for me at the end of the week. You should look in the mirror and say, that's my fault, 100% my fault. That's happened to me. Well, by the way, it happened to every manager, it happened to every leader. I always see, by the way, like on leadership TikTok or leadership Instagram is like these people who are like always like criticizing the leader who comes out and is very what's the right word? Hey, they're open, they're honest about their mistakes, right? It's one thing that I believe transparency is a great thing for leadership. And I do it myself too as well. When I fail, I'm like, man, I failed. And this is how I got better at it. As a leader, you will fail. It's going to happen. It's okay. As a human being, we're going to fail. It's okay. It's going to happen. It's just we need to make sure that while we're failing, we're learning from those things. Because if we're not, we're just repeating the same mistakes over and over again. And really, this leadership journey is going to be hell. So you got to make sure that no matter what you're doing, you're learning from those failures that you have. So yeah, like I said, maybe you've had a couple of hiring scenarios that turned into ghosts, right? They're not showing up. You know, Colin became Casper and poof, he disappeared. Just stop showing up to work, man. It's day 3 and he's not responding to text messages. Listen, it happens. Some of the things you can't control, some of the things you can control, but let's focus on one of the things you can control. So let's go over the three quick steps. So number 1, you got to make sure your environment is good. Remember, the environment is brand new no matter what. You know, working in the restaurant industry, I learned one really important thing, and that was you can point somebody, if you're at the host stand, you can point somebody to where they need to sit. But if that person's never been there before, they're going to look at the table that you have seen a million times right in front of them, and they're going to look right past it because there's so much to intake. And they're looking at the pictures on the walls. They're watching the servers go by with the food. They're watching the bartenders make drinks. There's so much going on in this environment that you say, yeah, you could take that table right there. They're like, okay, okay. And they're uncertain because maybe this is the first time they've been there, the second time they've been there, right? So one of the most important things to learn about this type of scenario is look at your team member coming into your company through that lens. They're going to be hesitant. I don't care how confident, what this person has done during your first training day. There's always going to be jitters. There's always going to be nerves. There's always going to be something going on. I remember all my first training days, right? Like when I got in there, I'm like looking around. It's all a brand new environment. You're observing different things, right? We as human beings, we do this all the time. We're observing things because we want to know if it's safe, if it's secure. It's just how human beings react to things. We want to make sure, hey man, am I going to survive or not? So first off, go slow through the environment with the team member. Day one, day two. Hey, this is where you clock in if they're clocking in. Hey, this is where your desk is. Hey, this is where HR is. Hey, this is where my office is. This is where the water cooler is. This is where the break room is. This is where, walk them through it and walk them through it slowly. You know, I remember the first job I ever had was at a grocery store, and they did this extremely well to the point where it's almost like so slow. And I remember being a kid, I was 16 years old. I was like, man, like we can move quick in the pace of this, you know, like I want to go home and I want to watch TV, right? I'm a 16-year-old kid. But I remembered where everything was. I knew where the break room was. I knew where the manager's office was. I knew where the trash compactors were. I knew everything. So one of the most important lessons that I learned, and by the way, I looked back on that when I was now in management and leadership, positions. I was like, oh, wait a minute. There's a reason for that. So go through the environment and point out the areas of importance. Sounds simplistic, guys. A lot of these things are going to be like, duh, Josh. No, not just duh. We have so much on our plates as leaders, as managers, that we forget these things. I forget these things, man. Like it happens. This is why, remember, you get a brand new team member. You're like, oh, brand new team member. Ooh, got to walk them through the environment. And it's okay to ask questions. Hey, do you know where the break room is? Hey, do you know how to punch in? Hey, do you know how this? And they might hesitate and not want to say no, right? They might be like, oh shit, it's day two. I should say yes, right? Make it okay for them to give you a bad answer. It's okay if you don't know how. I always say that. It's okay if you don't know how. And so they go, no, I don't. You got to make it in that environment. Got to make sure super safe for them to go, yeah, I don't know. Because they don't want to seem incompetent. But at the same time, it's perfectly okay for them to be incompetent. This is their first week of training, but they're nervous. They don't want to say the wrong thing. It's like somebody in an interview, right? They don't want to say the wrong thing. But sometimes in interviews, man, they say all the wrong things. I'll do a podcast about that once. So yeah, make sure your environment is safe and you go slowly through the environment. Number two, check in first thing with them. First time they come into the shift. Hey, Billy Bob. Hey, Joe. Hey, Sarah. Hey, Frank. Hey, Josh. All right, I'll stop with the names. Hey, today's day two. You are going to be doing A, B, and C. You're going to be following this person. You're going to be following that person. We're going to be showing you how to do A, B, and C today. Heard? Introduce them to the person, et cetera, et cetera. You as a manager, you as a leader, you think, I don't need to do this. Like, let somebody else do that. Dude, I don't care what level you're at. Imagine the power of a CEO seeing somebody on their second day and goes, hey, this is your second day? Oh, so you're going to be with Jim today. Yeah, Jim's going to go over A, B, and C. Oh, it's going to be great today. You're going to learn a lot. Think about that position, right? Of somebody who's the president, the CEO of a company, and they see somebody on their day two. What impact would that have on the person? Right? So don't ever forget that, because the higher you go up, the more impact you can make on somebody by doing small, simple, easy things. Don't ever forget that. So check in first thing with them, and then check in last thing when they're about to leave. Hey, so how was today? What did you learn today? And just go over the things. These, by the way, these are quick conversations, 5-minute conversations, 6-7 minute conversations, easy conversations to have. If you check in first thing with them, you check in last thing with them. So that's number 2. Number 1 is you want to walk slowly through the environment. Remember, the environment is new to them. Number 2 is you want to check in first thing, and check in last thing with them. Lastly, number 3, at the end of training, towards the end of their training, this is super important. Hey, Josh, we taught you how to input sales data. On a scale of 1 to 10, how comfortable do you feel doing this by yourself? There's going to be a pause. There usually is a pause. Let them think about it. They might talk about, well, I feel it. And they might talk about all the things that they do know or don't know. Listen, acknowledge. Awesome. Great. So if you had to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give yourself, Josh? The reasoning why you want to do this is you want this person to become self-aware on what they're at. And remember, make it okay for them to not know it as perfect. Because here's the thing, when somebody is confident about it and they've done it over and over and over again, they'll look at you and go 10, or they'll go 9, right? They know. They're like, oh, 10. Hey, Josh, how comfortable do you feel picking up the phone? 10. Hey, Josh, how comfortable do you feel inputting yesterday's numbers? 10, right? They know automatically. I've done this 16 million times already in my 4 training shifts. Dude, I'm good at this. I'm almost bored at it by now, right? But somebody who's not, they're gonna be like, 4, 6, and then that is the perfect point where you're gonna dig in deeper and say, how can I get you to a 10? What can I do? What can our training people do to get you to a 10 so you feel confident in doing it? And they're going to think about it, and they're going to give you some feedback. Take that feedback and deliver it to the trainers. Hey, we need to make sure that they work on this, this, and that. And then the next time that person comes in, what are you going to do? You're going to check in with that person, right? Hey, this is day 5, last day of training. Remember what we talked about? You needed help in A, B, and C. That's what we're going to be working on today. Guys, this stuff seems so simplistic, but this is a world of difference when you're training your people. It just is. Because A, the people feel like, wow, these people are already taking care of me. They're already listening to me. There's more love, there's more appreciation than I get from my own family members, man. This place is awesome. It's so important. And it's small, simple things, really easy things to get done. So let's recap. Brand new person comes in. You want to make sure their environment is welcome. They know the environment. They feel good about the environment. And they know where everything is. Walk slowly through the environment. Introduce them to people so they feel comfortable. Start to feel comfortable. Remember, they're Bambi on ice right now. Number 2, check in first thing with them. Check in last thing with them. This is what you're going to learn today. And at the end, what have you learned today? And then towards the end of training, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, scale of 1 to 10. How do you feel on this? Scale of 1 to 10. Get them to rate it by a number so they become self-aware, and then you can acknowledge what they need to learn, and then you can work on that. Have them dig deeper. Listen, I can teach somebody something. I don't know how well they're retaining it unless I watch them do it. Unless I have them become self-aware. It's one of the most important things when it comes to training is making sure you're following up on this person's activity, right? Super, super important to do. Guys, this is one of the things it takes to retain better talent. It's just, you have to make sure that you're doing these 3 things. Every single time a new team member comes in, don't get bored of this, man. Don't get bored of it. Make it fun. Hey guys, we got Josh here today. He's brand new. Make sure you say hi to him today. It's brand new. It's going to be a great part of our team. Maybe they don't like that. It's okay. Make sure you feel welcome, and make sure you're leaning into them. You'll learn more about these people during the interview process too, as well, which I got to get. Let's do another podcast on that too, as well. Anyway, these top 3 things: number 1, number 2, number 3, environment. Number 2, check in. First thing, last thing. Number 3, scale 1 to 10. Get them to rate it. Guys, simple, easy stuff. I need your help, guys. If you could rate this on iTunes, if you rate it on Spotify and share it with your friends, share it with your fellow managers so they can get this message spread out. Guys, we are going to build great managers and leaders as a community together, right? I'm helping with this knowledge that I know. I'm always progressively getting better. And I'm going to share it to you, and you can share it to your friends. We can all become better together. That's the whole point of this. It's the whole point of my social media. It's the whole point of this podcast. So listen, if this was of value to you, I just have a favor to ask. Share it with someone that you know can help, or rate it on iTunes, rate it on Spotify. I know it's a pain sometimes. You got to hit the 5 stars and it has you log in and whatever it is. But I would appreciate it, guys. I love you guys. If you found this valuable, only if you found it valuable. If you're like, man, I learned something from this, then do it. All right, that's it. That's all I got for you. I told you it was going to be a quick one today, guys. Guys, have a great rest of your day. Be strong, be powerful. And my friends, I promise you, you have no idea how powerful you are, my friends. Love you all.